This is Red Dog Terrain. Welcome back to the shed. Today we're building a giant blighted mushroom. So one of my current D&D games has been going on for quite a while now, and our DM created his own world, which is a huge task in its own. And we've now just recently entered the Blighted Lands. We're in there searching for a guy who has a thing to destroy the world, and we're gonna stop it. Anyways, in the Blighted Lands, there's these giant mushrooms that when the stalks start to get older, they peel off and they kind of curl, and they're these wide pieces, and the people that live there flatten them out, and they've found that when they dry them out, they turn basically into stone. So when the DM started describing this, I immediately went, okay, well, how big is this? How big is a stalk? How tall is it? Because I knew I was going to end up making it. So that's what this project is, me making this very specific giant mushroom for our D&D game. That's why it looks a little strange and not like a normal mushroom. So in the setting, the stalks are about 20 feet wide. It's the cap is 12 times 5. It's 60 feet wide, and it is about 40 feet tall. At this point in the build, I've taken a packaging tube and cut it to about 6 to 7 inches long. I took a very large piece of insulation foam, cut a big circle, and I kind of trimmed off the edges and sanded it down just to give it a better curve. And then on the underside of the cap, I just started taking my razor blade and just stroking from to the center to the outside, and making those gills, those veins or whatever is on the underside of a mushroom. And then took a ballpoint pen, accented it, and then took my gnarly wire brush and just raked it over it. And at some points got kind of rough with it, to create those variations and those gaps and those broken pieces that you would see on a mushroom. Then I took a small piece of insulation foam, made a little dome. Once that was glued down, I made a very wet batch of Sculptamold and proceeded to try to level out the dome, but also give a bunch of texture to the whole thing. I also found that dipping my finger in the water, I could really smooth it out, but not so much that it was a glass smooth, but where there wasn't any obvious solid jagged parts. This took a long time to dry. It was very wet. I had it out in the sun, the winter sun, but still it took a long time to dry. At this point in the build, I cut a piece of dollar store foam board about 2.5 inches wide, and wrapped it all the way around the base of the cardboard tube. I wanted the bottom peeling off bits to stick out a little bit further. That way I could fit the next layer of these peeling off bits behind it. Then I had cut strips of the same dollar store foam board, about 1 inch wide, and curved the top of them, and then just happened to have a fork in the shed, and I used that to make grooves in it that were definitely much wider, and I wanted something different than the look on the gills, the under part. And then took a heat gun, heated up, and bent them down so that they were peeling over. Again, these mushrooms, the stalks are, when the stalks are dying and the pieces are coming off, they fall down, and the people collect them and turn them into almost like wood or stone. I'd eventually wrap the entire bottom in these peeling off bits. Once the cap was done, I painted the whole thing in the secret sauce, which is of course just black paint and Mod Podge. It strengthens it. It also gives it gives it shade before I do the real painting parts. While I do that, I'd like to thank the band Aya for the use of their music in all of my videos. Check them out on Bandcamp. They have a new live album. This is just a ring of foam that I put in there to make a transition from the stalk to the cap. As you probably already know, Red Dog Terrain has joined the Plastic Microphone Studio, which is just a collection of friends here in my area who are coming together to help promote each other and do cross-promotion and be on each other's channels and podcasts. So check out shows like Average Home Theater Reviews, Fave 5 from Fans, and now the new new show that I'm on, Sequel House. The adventurers hoped they would be safe. They hoped the giant mushroom would provide some protection from the leathery winged creatures that attacked last night, the creatures that had snatched and carried away their healer. They hoped the mushroom would protect them from the acid rain that had taken the lives of their horses. They hoped that having their backs to the thick stalk would diminish their chances of being surprised and losing another warrior. They lit a small fire to quickly prepare their meager dinner. They hoped the fire would not attract any predators. What they should have hoped for is that the thin trail of smoke rising up into the mushroom's gills wouldn't awaken the disease-spreading critters living above them. But here in the Blighted Lands, hope is pointless. Death will eventually come for them all. I made a very watered-down tan wash and covered the majority of the stalks, leaving the very bottoms of them white, and then went through with a darker wash along the outer edges, and eventually would dry brush with white on the very tips. I tried real hard to transition them well. On the gill part, I wanted a pinkish reddish hue to them, so I made another wash, but this one was really pink. So after a while I had to take it and just dip straight water onto it and to try and get rid of so much of the pink, and then did a very, very heavy dry brush in white to again tone it down. I just wanted a little bit of pink, and I got a lot of pink. I cut up some sponge and dipped it in paint and made splotches all over the place to give it that kind of classic mushroom look. I also, off camera, took a brush and spread little specks and spackles on the top. Did a clear coat of clear nail polish on it to give it a sheen, and you can't see it, so I didn't show it, but I also did a glow-in-the-dark paint on the underneath part, but when I tried to film that, you couldn't see it, so I just left it out. And then I'm going to be quiet as I let the music play. Thanks for watching, thanks for commenting. See you guys later.